You're listening to the Focused and Fearless podcast. I'm your host, Heather Angel, and I've been helping people tune into what lights them up and increase their personal and professional performance for over a decade. Now I'm best known as a high-performance coach helping entrepreneurs like you cut through the noise and create a business and life on your terms. If you're ready to step out of struggle and discover how simple it can be to create a fulfilling, joyful, and successful business without all the overwhelm and long hours, you're in the right place. Welcome to this latest episode of the Focused and Fearless podcast. And today, this is going to be a fairly short episode, but I want you to start thinking about how the impact of self-love can affect your business, can affect how you show up as an entrepreneur. Now, the reason I'm recording this episode is because you may not know this actually, but I actually had a wedding planning company before I went into coaching. And when I started that, I really had no confidence. I thought I had confidence, but I didn't. It was all completely fake. I had no true self-love for myself. I was trying to fill the emptiness by creating a business. And of course, I had no idea that's what I was doing. This is all on reflection. But when I started that business, I was in a complete mess personally. I still had very strong beliefs that to be a successful entrepreneur, to create a successful business, meant I had to work harder for longer. So the way that showed up in my life was that I would look after my children all day. At the time I had, how old was my youngest? I think was 1, and my eldest was 3. So chaos at home. And my youngest was actually born premature, so I think he'd only just come off oxygen. So it was all a bit of a crazy time. But I started this business because I needed to throw myself into something. Now, the difficulty came a year after running that business, where I was just burnt the F out. I was exhausted because what I was doing was working insane hours. I would go into the office at maybe 9 o'clock at night once I'd got the kids to bed. My husband at the time and I had had dinner, and then I'd be like, right, now I can focus on my business. What I really needed to do was go and have a bath and go to bed, but I would go and work on my business until maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and then get up 4 or 5 hours later and repeat the process. This was because I did not love who I was. I didn't love myself. I didn't have any respect for myself. So not only were the obvious things that you might be thinking of, like, wow, she had no self-care. I didn't have any self-care. I had no self-care routine. I didn't allow myself, I felt guilty even about having a bath. I would schedule it in. I would say to my husband, oh, could you look after the kids, tonight? Or could you do put them to bed so I can have a bath? And I'd feel like I was like imposing my needs on the rest of the family, which is crazy. Husband was always very supportive, and the kids were perfectly fine if I was going to have a bath. But because I didn't love myself, love who I was, and respect my body, my mind, and the fact that I needed rest and recuperation, I just kept working, and feeling so guilty if I didn't. So on the nights where I would only manage to work for maybe 1 or 2 hours in the office, I would go to bed thinking I hadn't done enough. And ultimately that stemmed because I thought I wasn't enough. So if any of this resonates with you, if you're thinking, yep, I feel really guilty, and I know a lot of my audience are mums as well, or parents, and let's not sugarcoat it. It is flipping tough when you've got young children at home and you are looking to start a business. To start a business takes energy, it takes momentum, and it takes a lot to get that momentum going. But you've then got children to look after as well, and oh gosh, all the other things just from societal conditioning and everything else that we've been exposed to. The idea of putting ourselves first and loving ourselves and appreciating where we're at and accepting everything about us and that we're doing enough and we are enough, that didn't even come into my conscious thought, not once. And it was only when I started working with a life coach, when was that? I can't remember now. I think it was 2015. I started working with a life coach, and my gosh, within 6 months, my world completely changed because she made me realize how much work I really needed to do to get myself to a place where I could happily say, I love myself, I love my life, I love who I am, and I'm just happy to be growing and doing what I'm doing. Now, this was a few years ago, so I'm now speaking to you from a very different place. And I want to share with you just a couple of really simple things that have helped me progress a little bit, I suppose, get to that point where I could look at myself in the mirror. And I'm a woman, so I can look in the mirror and just see a lot of flaws and kind of go, oh, where did my abs go? Oh, there's another grey hair, all these kind of different things. I can do that. And, guys listening, I'm sure you can do that too. But I am at a place now where I can look in the mirror and kind of go, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy with who I am. I can look at my business and go, oh my gosh, look at how far I've come and the exciting opportunities that are ahead of me, without the judgment and the constant fear that I am not enough or I'm not doing enough. So here's a couple of quick tips. This is going to be a short episode, so I just want to give you a couple of really simple but incredibly powerful tools to help you. If any of this has resonated with you and you're like, yeah, actually, I don't really feel like I'm very happy with myself, however you are feeling about yourself, if you think you could do with a little bit more self-love, which I think we could all do with a little bit more self-love. More love in the world is never a bad thing. Then here's a couple of tips for you to use. Number 1, mirror work. Now, this is very powerful. it's going to be so simple what I'm going to ask you to do, but the effects can be very, very powerful. So what I want you to do is, when you have some quiet with no one else around, so you're not going to be interrupted for a minute or two, I want you to look in the mirror. And I want you to look in your eyes. Don't just look at your face like I did the first time and start picking out the wrinkles and all the things, that you might pick up. I want you to look in your eyes, look into your soul. And I want you to say to yourself out loud, I love you. I love you. I want you to say that to yourself when you're looking directly into your eyes in the mirror. Now, like I said, it's so simple, right? But it can make you feel all kinds of things. So what I want you to do is say that and feel what comes up. And accept what comes up. There's no wrong or right or good or bad. For me, I think I laughed because I felt stupid and then I cried. So, whereas now I can say that to myself in the mirror and just smile and just be happy because I know it's true. I do love who I am. But that may not be the case for you right now. So whatever comes up, whatever reaction you have, it's okay. It's perfectly what should happen now. Now, what you can do after that, if you haven't gone into tears or anything too dramatic has happened, I would also like you to use the statement, I am enough. So mirror work is my first tip for you to increase your self-love. And what I want you to do is do this every day until you get to that point where you can look in the mirror, look straight in your eyes and say, I love you, I am enough, and literally feel like high-fiving yourself because you're like, yes, it's true. Yes, I'm awesome. You need to keep doing this mirror work. Give it a go. Now, if you do have a really intense reaction to when you do the mirror work, give yourself permission to have that time. And you will know, if you're listening to this, you're already aware of these sorts of things. If you know that there's a high chance that you are going to have a strong reaction to this, if you're feeling particularly down right now, then allow yourself to do this mirror work when you know you're completely alone. So maybe once the kids have gone to school, when you're got half an hour in the morning or something, so you can actually allow yourself to feel and process what comes up for you. Okay, and the second step, again, very simple, is journaling. Now, journaling, if you Google it, my gosh, has it got complicated. I mean, there's journals for everything, and there's a gazillion different ways, apparently, that you can journal. I don't want you to make this complicated at all. All I'd like you to do is get a notebook of some form. I don't even care if it's, an old notebook, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a posh, fancy journal, just something you can write on and keep. And I want you to start asking yourself questions about what came up for you when you did the mirror work. So in an ideal situation, you would do the mirror work, feel what comes up, and then go straight to your journal to really start unpacking what's going on for you. Now, if you're new to journaling, what I find is the easiest thing to do, and I still do this now if I feel like there's a bit of a block and I can't quite figure it out, is I do journaling with questions. So the first thing I will do is just ask a question. So for example, you might say, why did I laugh and look away when I said I love you? What could the meaning be behind that? Do I love myself? How do I feel about saying I love myself? All these little questions, whatever it is for you, just keep asking questions because our minds and brains are so clever. We will start looking for the answers and then write down whatever comes up for you and don't judge it. Whatever comes up for you from your subconscious, your brain will be trying to help you find the answer. Now, this can be incredibly deep, powerful work. Like I said, it's so simple. The two things to do, mirror work and then journaling, super, super simple. But I can tell you from my own experience, I have bawled my eyes out doing the mirror work. I have bawled my eyes out doing journaling. I have had moments where I've said out loud, holy cow, or something a little bit stronger to that effect when I've been journaling because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was the reason. I didn't know that was hidden. I didn't realize I had those feelings. So these are two incredibly powerful tools that you can use to increase the self-love. Okay, and I'm just to finish off this episode, because like I said, I wanted to keep this super quick for you today. As a Brit, and I'm sure this happens all around the world, but certainly as a Brit, to say I love myself sounds really, really weird. It sounds like I'm being boastful or I'm being pretentious and conceited and arrogant and all of those things. And it's something I don't battle with internally, but to try and explain it to other people, especially, friends or family who are not on this entrepreneurial journey, which is, basically a self-development journey, isn't it really? They don't understand. So that kind of language can be triggering as well. So just be aware of the things that these things may well come up in your journaling, what you were told about loving yourself. I used to hear phrases all the time in a negative way, like, oh, they really love themselves, don't they? Oh, show off, that kind of thing. And that's what it meant when people would say to me, when I worked with my life coach, we need to look at your, self-love and acceptance. And I was like, what? Self-love? I can't say I love myself. What would people think? So all these things can come up. They've come up for me. There's many. This episode could be hours long. This is a very big topic, but I wanted to keep it short, succinct, and give you two simple takeaways. So, self-love. If you want to increase your business performance, if you want to increase your performance as an entrepreneur, you have got to get confident and feel safe and secure in who you are. Because until you fully know and understand and love who you are, you're never going to be able to fully show up in an authentic way. You're never going to feel like 100% you. And self-love is the way that I have absolutely crashed down so many barriers and allowed myself to show up in a way where I'm 100% confident in who I am. If people don't like it, I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm no longer seeking their validation. And self-love can do that for you. So the two takeaways from this episode: 1, do the mirror work. 2, do the journaling. And do this every day, if you can, until you get to that point where you can look in the mirror, look in your eyes and be like, yes, I am a freaking rock star. I am amazing and I love who I am. Okay, my darling, until the next episode, have a great week. Thank you for listening to the Focused and Fearless podcast. If you'd like to continue the conversation or have a question that you would like answered in an upcoming episode, head over to Instagram and connect with me at Heather Angel Coaching. If you enjoy this podcast, please share your thoughts in a review on iTunes. I truly value your feedback and I take the time to read every single review. Have a beautiful week and I'll see you in the next episode.